Sudan is not a party of the International Criminal Court. But the United Nations Security Council granted the International Criminal Court a referral for Omar al-Bashir. I won't go too much into Omar al-Bashir, but I can tell you the same case, you have a lot of young men and young women fighting on both sides, and it's just not doing the country any good. And then you also have an aspect of the Chinese that have come in to supply, to give Bashir money. They call China Africa's new best friend in so many ways. And part of the problem with the Chinese is that it's not really a problem, but what they do is they'll come in and they'll say, okay, you give us the resources, we'll give you the money, and we're gone. Now, what you do in your territory is, your business. We're not going to bother with that. But of course, China itself is a United Nations member, and it should honor some of the human rights. It has to honor human rights and international humanitarian law. So, pretty much the thing with Omar al-Bashir, a lot of people call it genocide. I don't think it's really genocide. I think it's displacement, because if you see people are being pushed off of Darfur, push, and wherever they land, they're being attacked again. And then what happens is that they spill over to Chad, and they're being attacked again in Chad, right? So all of this, same problem, same thing you have. Psychological deprivation happens to a lot of kids after the war is over, after they're put into rehabilitation. You have problems with young women who just cannot cope with being, how should I say, with being sex slaves. Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted you to clarify. Why do you say it's not a genocide? I mean, what does genocide mean?
Right. Okay. No, that's a very good point. The difference between genocide, mass murder, and displacement is really not clear. It's not a borderline. But I don't call it a genocide simply because genocide means it's a calculated thing that you're attacking one ethnic community and you really want to get rid of them. Whether it be for resources, whether it be you just don't like them, whether it be you feel like you need to ethnically cleanse them. All right? So you attack that one community and you go out and try to really do a lot of damage. In Darfur, what you see is happening is that people are being pushed. They're being pushed. If the government wants to kill them, they do, but they're being pushed constantly. And when they land in the Chad, you see that they're not really, the force, the belligerents are not really attacking them so much. They just want them off of Darfur area. And so they do use that. In a sense, it is genocide. If you commit kill 500,000, 600,000 people, it is committing genocide. There's another way you can, particularly in Sudan, you can commit genocide without actually killing people, and that is through rape. And it's a culture in Sudan. If a woman is raped before she's married, she's no good. She can't get married again. She's an outcast to her community. And when that happens, that in a sense, is ethnic cleansing in its own, because the people that are assaulting the women of a certain community, they know that that's going to happen. So.
They do it because that's going to happen.
I'm sorry, yeah. Yes, they do it, but you know.
I mean, the same thing happened in Yugoslavia and in many other countries.
Mm-hmm. Right, and it's something of a cultural thing. That culture isn't so much here in this world, but there it is.
It is hard for us to understand, that's
yes.
true, but nevertheless we should be aware of it.
Right. So now there are many conditions, again, to the causes of the rebel actions of Omar Bashir, Thomas Lubanga, Joseph Kony. I mean, it's just not the child soldiering. But the child soldiering, it's one of the key points that really does a lot of damage to your social structure, to your infrastructure, and to your development. And this is why the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court recognizes in speeches all the time. And he says one reason why they took Uganda and they took the Congo was that case of child soldiering. I mean, it's just really the deputy director. Her name is the deputy prosecutor of the International Court. Fauz Bensouda, that's her name. She's an African, and she made a really interesting statement about the whole issue of women and young people being put into wars. And she said that people think in the Western world that this is something normal, that children, that as soon as any village here, children will be indoctrinated into fighting. But it really isn't. It's a new phenomenon. And one of the reasons why it's a new phenomenon, because children couldn't hold the weapons. Back in the day, back in the 50s and 60s and before, they were just too heavy. Even if you go back to times when there weren't guns, they just couldn't hold the spear. But with the new types of armaments that are coming out, the die-cast metal, pocket grenades, weapons that are easily used by anyone, they can be used.
That's a real perverse thing, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
You were talking about the Chinese, but I mean that I think the whole set of people who are missing on the tribunal. These are first all the mercenaries. I'm talking about French mercenaries. I'm talking about.
When you say tribunals, what do you mean?
I'm talking about international tribunals.
Okay.
International courts. Sorry. These are all the mercenaries, all the people who were fighting in one war, fighting in the next war,
Right.
on behalf, in between of also European countries, governments, or other interests. Those people are missing. They are never mentioned. And the second one is, if you look at the Security Council, they are the people who are selling the weapons. So I don't think there was one child soldier who came to Berlin from Sierra Leone, and he said two things. First, he's been sold as child soldier all his life, all his short life, or almost a great part of his life. He has never seen one diamond. But when he came to Belgium, he saw that the crown,
Right.
diamond. Then he went to the United Kingdom, crown, diamond. And then he said the second thing. He said, in Sierra Leone, nobody produces weapons. But he said that he gave the name. Me, all these figures I forgot. But the number 100T whatever is being produced in Bavaria. The TY whatever is produced in Britain. The YL minute is produced in the
Right.
United States. So the people who produce, the USA said they're not going to ban personal mine, and they know exactly, and they even the ones looking like play, instrument, like little games. So people who produce these kind of weapons do know that children are going to jump on them.
You're talking about munitions that look like toys.
So all these people, not one of them, because that is mass murder. If you produce these weapons, you know exactly that the children are going to use them. You know exactly that the people who are going to give the children. So these people are not. You have one tailor who did something. I'm not a friend of Taylor, but who did something that was even protected by Obasanjo. Obasanjo said, "I'll never let you go." Then suddenly it was brought. But all the mercenaries, all the people producing all the intermediaries, all the people who signed agreements with all these governments before.
Right.
So if we take one, then take all others before and after.
Yeah. You actually came to a point that I was going to
Because those are African.
Right.
All the others are not African. Many of them are not African. So, people say that, international community and tribunals.
Right. You actually came to a point I was going to make later, which is a lot. I believe the governor, the president of Sierra Leone, Abdiali, I think his name is, he said that also, said there's a serious double standard here. And he cited